When you talk about film series, there can only be a few who left quite an impact as much as Halloween did. With sequels spanning decades, we finally lay witness to the conclusion of this horrific saga with Halloween Ends. For today's video, we'll be reviewing Halloween Ends and how it has an underwhelming and scare-free end to the trilogy. Plus, make sure you keep watching to see every Michael Myers and Laurie Strode Showdown ranked. In Halloween Kills, the inhabitants of Haddonfield shouted, "Evil dies tonight," but we always knew it wouldn't. The sequel and Halloween Ends were both announced at the same moment, and this time we have been told that it is truly the end. Halloween Ends is unquestionably the final installment of the reboot trilogy. However, whether that is the case or not will likely depend on the movie's box office performance. In addition, it will be Jamie Lee Curtis's last appearance as Laurie Strode, which isn't a surprise because Laurie has already died in the series. The timeline in the Halloween universe is flexible enough to accommodate any potential new concepts. Even if that is what the marketing would have you believe, Halloween Ends can still be viewed as a conclusion. But if this really is the end of Michael Myers and Laurie Strode's never-ending struggle, then it's a dull conclusion that, for the most part, appears to forget it's even supposed to be a conclusion. Halloween Ends jumps forward 4 years from Halloween 2018, which took place on the same night as Halloween Kills. Since the bloody incidents of that fateful night, Michael Myers hasn't been seen, and Laurie is doing her best to move on, to enjoy life rather than live in dread. She is writing her book while residing with her granddaughter Allison, played by Andy Matichak. Haddonfield, however, is unable to move on, and since the boogeyman has vanished, Corey Cunningham, played by Rowan Campbell, has become the town's new outcast. The events that lead Corey being accused of murdering the youngster he was babysitting are shown in the impactful cold opening, which is set 1 year earlier. Although it was on accident, Haddonfield has turned in on itself because of Michael Myers' legacy. There is always going to be someone to blame, and in this case, it's poor Corey. And when Laurie defends Corey from bullies, town outcasts must stay together after all, it starts a chain of events that will eventually force Laurie to face the darkness that has followed her throughout her whole life. If your main criticism of Halloween Kills was that there wasn't much of a story, Halloween Ends is the exact opposite of that. David Gordon Green has slowed down the action for the last tour to make a different kind of Halloween movie, but this only really causes more issues. Although the movie isn't truly the culmination of Laurie and Michael's conflict, the marketing has made a huge deal out of it. It eventually arrives, and when it does, it is nasty, but ultimately it feels tacked on, rather than the satisfying conclusion of a tension-filled build-up. Anything new can be tried, especially in a series that has been going strong for so long. However, despite a few memorable gory scenes, a tongue-severing to be specific, there isn't a set piece that will stick in the mind, and there isn't much tension or fear involved. If Halloween Ends were the second book in this trilogy, or a standalone novel, you could dismiss it as an intriguing but ultimately futile experiment. However, the movie's status as the series' climax exacerbates its flaws, because it not only falls short of your expectations, but also fails to provide a convincing alternative. Jamie Lee Curtis continues to enthrall audiences as Laurie throughout it all, and gets to showcase a different Laurie than the enraged Laurie of the previous two films. When the time comes for her to get aggressive and give a one-liner, she's just as good as ever. She even gets to be pleased for one fleeting moment, which has been rare for her throughout the entire Halloween trilogy. When Halloween Ends does finally reach the showdown it promised, it does so in gory fashion. Although Laurie vs. Michael has been depicted in a variety of ways before, Green finds a novel perspective to give it a certain flair, but it's not enough to prevent the film from having a disappointing conclusion. If this is the end, Halloween fans might have wished that this timeline had never existed. Moving on to other related news, let's talk about every Michael Myers and Laurie Strode showdown ranked in Halloween Ends. Curtis's Laurie and Michael Myers have already clashed numerous times. In fact, from the 1970s until the present, they have fought, and here's our ranking of their every confrontation. Starting from the bottom, we have the 2002 Halloween Resurrection at the number 6 spot. In the infamous H2O sequel, Laurie Strode only appears for 15 minutes. What a blow. This contest is flawed in every way. Was the odd admission that the conclusion to H2O was a fake-out that was perplexingly always planned back in '98? Wrong. Is Laurie being pushed aside in the first scene? Wrong. Before Laurie falls to her death, why not have Laurie kiss Michael on his mask? Wrong, wrong, wrong. If we're being kind, the camera work when Michael is chasing Laurie around the hospital hallways is a little dizzy and disorienting. But by all accounts, a knife needs to be inserted into this confrontation. Next up, at the number 5 spot, we have the latest addition to the film saga with Halloween Ends this 2022. It's tough to truly discuss discuss Halloween Ends, although it does provide a satisfactory conclusion to the Michael versus Laurie conflict. Just like a rusty knife, it performs the job, but it's a little less effective because the remainder of the movie doesn't set it up in a very satisfying way. However, David Gordon Green's trilogy ender features an image that will undoubtedly go down in Halloween history as some of the squeakiest material the series has ever shown on film. Moving on to the number 4 spot, we have the 1981 Halloween 2. Although Halloween 2 is a perfectly good sequel that continues Michael Myers' rampage in the Haddonfield Memorial Hospital, the remainder of Halloween feels a bit needless, given how spine-tinglingly wonderful the climax of Halloween is. Since he vanished at the end of the original movie, the sequel at least manages to convey a better sense of finality with a second showdown. In the operating room, Laurie shoots Michael in each of his eyes with startling accuracy, a maneuver that is as delightfully metal as it is unbelievable, before Dr. Loomis fills the room with gas and dispatches Myers in a huge fireball. Then, at the number 3 spot, we have the 1998 Halloween H2O. Michael Myers is beheaded in such a flash that it almost feels like blink and you'll miss it. H2O, an incredibly economical 90s slasher that ends in just 80 minutes, is charming in large part because of its brevity. The Michael showdown gains clarity thanks to yet another ignore some of the sequel strategy. 20 years after coming for Laurie, he will now see that going after her again, along with her son John, played by Josh Hartnett, was a grave error. By pretending to feel sorry for the devil, our final female can approach her brother and make a clean, powerful cut at his neck with an axe. Then, at the number 2 spot, we have Halloween from 2018. There are issues with David Gordon Green's 40-year-old sequel, which ignores all but the Carpenter original, but they are largely in the first act. By the last reel, he is operating at full capacity and provides one of Halloween's greatest endings. By the time Michael comes after Laurie Strode in this alternate reality, she has spent 40 years waiting for the moment to kill him. Jamie Lee Curtis's Laurie Strode has gone full Sarah Connor, bring on a beautifully terrifying walk through Laurie's trap-filled home, closing doors one at a time as she inches closer to the boogeyman. Not only is it exciting to see a horror hero with a plan and see that plan come to fruition, but it also perfectly satisfies the movie's themes of intergenerational trauma to see 3 generations of Strodes band together to kill Michael: Laurie, her daughter Karen, Judy Greer, and her granddaughter Allison, Andy Matichak. It finished in a blaze of glory, so perhaps that's where it ought to have ended. And finally, topping today's list at number 1 is the film that started it all, the 1978 Halloween. There's a reason why the first movie is a masterpiece. The enduring popularity of Halloween and Michael Myers can be traced to one specific chilling moment in Carpenter's classic movie. Laurie thinks she has killed her mask-wearing attacker after stabbing his chest with a kitchen knife and puncturing his eye with a coat hanger, but Myers silently sits bolt upright behind her as she stands in the doorway catching her breath. It's expertly executed, and in the ensuing struggle, Laurie really for once succeeds in identifying the person responsible for her unhappiness. The true Myers is born in this fight, a seemingly human man whose resistance to gunfire and knife wounds suggests, but never proves, something more otherworldly. After falling over the balcony, he vanishes into thin air. It's a climax that cemented Laurie, Michael, and the movie as mythological figures and inspired everything that followed. And that concludes today's video about Halloween Ends. Which Halloween movie is your favorite? Let us know what you think about it in the comment section below. Before you go, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to our channel with the notification bell on for more videos like these. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next time.